There are a lot of reasons why choice boards are a good idea, especially in the day and time which we're working in, but I've highlighted in green the three that I think are the most important, or the ones that I found it to be the most successful with. If you saw Angie Robinson's video on how to create a digital choice board, the format that you see right now is very similar to hers. It just has 6 panels instead of 4. The link at the bottom was shared by Haley Trivet, and you can find it in our SMORE. But if you begin around the time 25 minutes, 30 seconds into that video, the lady who's doing that video does an awesome job, and is much more succinct than I could be about describing how to create a digital choice board like this. She's doing it in as a game board, but it's a digital choice board all the same. So if I clicked on this first one, it would lead me to a slide in my Google Slides. That would be a description of the activity for the students. So if they chose slide A, this is where they'd come to find their direction to get started. Just like with Angie's on, I believe Angie had an arrow pointing back, linked back to her homepage in her Google slide. This has the word home just hyperlinked so students can return that way. This is exactly the same choice board with a different look. Change the background, change the thumbtacks to washi tape, and you've got exactly the same thing, and you can using the same template just to give it a different look. You can make this thematic depending on what your topic was, or just dress it up different ways to keep the students interested and think they're looking at something they've never seen before. This is a tic-tac-toe. This is more of the choice board that I have more experience with. And this one is organized by curriculum objectives. If you see the RL1, RL3, and L4 at the top, those are ELA objectives. And in each column, you'll find activities that would meet those objectives or goals for those objectives. Like I would suggest, if you're going to use something like this, if you'll notice, the top line has 2 pencil paper and 1 technology, just like the next 2 have 2 technology and 1 pencil paper. I would make 1 row or 1 option on your tic-tac-toe to be all paper pencil, and that way you'd take care of students who have opted out and you can address their needs. It would just limit their choices that way. Or like if you see the video where it asks for a video under the first box under L4, instead of actually creating the video, you could just give them the option. You could have it say the same thing, but give them option of writing a script for the video, and that would change it up and give it a paper pencil flair. I just think it would be a good idea right now to try to accommodate those needs when you try to use one of these. This example that I chose is organized by multiple intelligences. When I use the tic-tac-toe, my first column was usually technology. My middle column would deal with some format of reading and writing, and then the last column would be more hands-on, creative type projects. And so this is a little more detailed than that because it's broken it down into 9 areas, where I just covered 3 or 4 maybe with mine. So I thought this was well thought out and would give you a good example for each one if you were interested in going that way. As far as tic-tac-toes go, this is probably my favorite because it introduced a new idea to me as I was looking at it that I'd never used or thought about before. I usually had my middle square, just like the number 5 square here. I usually had a middle square that was an activity that everybody had to be able to do. And so that's what this number 5 is. And then that allows the students to choose 2 of the 3 options. You've chosen 1 and then they get to choose 2. But this one goes a step further than I ever thought about, where 1 through 4 is colored. You see that it's colored green, and 6 through 9 is colored purple. I don't know that this creator has done that. Maybe there were scientific reasons why they made this decision other than just to match their graphic on the left. but I can't figure it out based on what I know about science. So like what I would do with it is 1 through 4, any green box would be a lower level kind of thinking question as far as Bloom's taxonomy goes, or easier skills. And then purple would be the more advanced or deeper thinking type activities or more involved. Like you see, number 9 says design a costume. That seems pretty involved to me. So I really like how they've done that, so that any option they choose to create tic-tac-toe has to involve 1 green and 1 purple. The next one, it was created for high school honors. I think it was actually for seniors also, English class. And you can see that the projects here are pretty advanced for most of our students. So you'd have to kind of adapt some of these more for what middle schoolers are equipped to handle. But I really liked the multimedia approach to this as a getting to know you activity for the school year, especially if they're allowing students to create the life magazine cover and then creating their artifacts that go along with that. I thought that's just a really cool idea. The one on the right is a Google Drive bingo board where students are required. If I were doing this, I don't remember the directions that went along, but my directions would be use this bingo card, and each of the 9 weeks you'd have to achieve bingo by one of the ways on this board. So that would mean every 9 weeks they were proving to me that they knew more about Google Drive than they did the 9 weeks before. This option was probably the most advanced of the digital choice boards that I took a look at. If you'll give me just a second to open this up. Each one of these, it was created at a website called Genially. I'll get it in a second. And each box on the board is actually has a multimedia aspect to it. Sometimes it's just to add cuteness or a meme that students would totally associate with, along with the directions for that activity. And then sometimes it's just this cutesy sort of thing. The family tree, I know, is actually where they start, like it's an example for them to start with their family tree. So they get the directions and then they get some idea of what it should look like before they even start. I just thought that was super creative and just like I said, more advanced than most of the others I had seen. This is a Canva slide that I created. It's got links, as you see, to every I think every content area that we addressed during the school year. If you click anywhere on that one, it's going to lead you to the one that has the hyperlinks on it. And I wanted to show you one from the science list that I thought after you've seen that one from Geniality, you'll think this one looks pretty boring, and it is very straightforward. There's no text, there's not even any color or clip art on this version, but it is a project choice menu with 6 options that you see here. And then I like the extras that came with this one because it had an accountability sheet. This looks like a version of what I've used in the past to cover with students as we talk about the project, to introduce the project, and then help them chunk their time and think about it's due when and what do I need to do between now and then. Like you'll see that it says research should be done by, project will be shared on, and then once you filled this out as you go over your choice board, you could send it home and have parents sign it, making sure that they've been communicated with that this will be due and all the particulars of that. The next page is a progress log. To me, it's like a contact log with that student when you conference with the student about their project. If they come to you, if you go to them, either way, this piece of paper would be produced, and then you could record what had been discussed, and the fact that they were progressing through the project and not waiting until the last minute to get things done. The next page, this is a step I never would have thought of, but this points out for each of the 6 options, things you could think about, suggestions, directions about specifically what's being looked for. So I thought that was very thoughtful. And then the final page was a rubric to use to score any of the options. So this would have to stay kind of broad, but just the fact that you'd given students this before they started would give them an idea of what your expectations were by the time they were finished. There are tons and tons of choice boards and examples. I've tried to pick several that I thought were interesting and point out aspects of that to help you think through how you might create yours. There is no limit to that. I did not include menus on this presentation because that would have just doubled the time, but menus are another great way to go. I hope you have found something here that will be helpful to you, and if there's any way that I can help you with choice boards or anything else as you get this year started, please let me know. Thank you for listening.